Well, hello everyone. This is just me today, slightly different format, but I wanted to get right into it. It's the new holiday, new year, and a lot's changed. A lot has gone on, and so I wanted to take a moment of your time, and I know I promised you video podcasts, and I've been sick lately, and so hopefully my voice doesn't crack too much or I sniff a bit too much. But nevertheless, I'm here. It's Saturday morning. It's raining like mad. I think this might actually work out better because I'm recording it locally. I use Camtasia, and then I'll upload it rather than trust the back and forth internet with Zoom as we have been doing, Kathy and I. But I did want to take the time today to kind of situate three pieces that I've published in close succession, right? They hit your inbox this morning because they're doing different kinds of work. And I don't want them read as representations of or repetitions of the same argument. Those three pieces, they are the who owns Gestalt language processing, beyond the question of who owns GLP, and then the side piece of the weight of knowing, right? Transmission without explanation, and which is kind of funny because that's what I'm doing here right now is explaining. But they are related, but they're not iterations. They're layers. And if anything, they move in a spiral from argument to resonance to origin, right? So in who owns Gestalt language processing, the first piece, that did the necessary work. It was long. It was a very, very, very long. And I pushed the limits of Substack on how long it could be. And so the closing of that is a bit abrupt, I realise. But I wanted to have all of the meat of it. And we'll worry about the closing here or later. But it's analytic, it's political, it's about epistemic authority. The piece isn't asking whether GLP exists. Right, that's already settled. I'm here. I'm living it. I don't need to argue my own existence. It's really asking who gets to define it, who gets to delimit it, who gets to operationalize it, and who is quietly displaced when that happens. So what's at stake right now isn't a misunderstanding. It's capture. GLP, people like myself, perhaps yourself, are being pulled into a protocol logic, reduced, standardized, made legible primarily to institutions that were never present for its formation. And that's why Marge's intervention matters so much. That's why I spent a great deal of time on it. Right? Her separation of Gestalt language development from Gestalt language processing isn't semantic, it's boundary work. It redraws where authority lives. It says this is not a technique to be owned. It's the way minds work, like mine, over time, across relationship, in lived coherence. The piece names it plainly, names the fight plainly, and it asks who gets to speak, which is kind of why I'm here explaining who gets to speak, right? And who is reduced to data. So, was that necessary? Was it enough? Right? Even when we do that work, even when I write these essays and poems and so on, even when we make the argument carefully and precisely, something is still missing. Because GLP does not begin in papers. It does not begin in protocols. It does not begin with language. It begins with recognition. Whole patterns arriving before they can be broken into parts, meaning organizing itself in bodies, in rooms, in timing, long before it becomes something that can be cited or taught. And that over matters. That's where the second piece comes in, right? Beyond the question of who owns GLP. It's not another argument. It's an afterword. It's a settling. It's a resonance. If the first piece asked who is allowed to speak, this one asks, where does that knowing come from in the first place? Right? It's about speaking from inside the knowing, about longitudinal coherence as a site of theory, not as anecdote waiting to be validated. This piece is softer in tone, but not in seriousness. It's closer to the body. It names something institutions struggle to recognize, is not about GLP, but about kind of queer and autistic knowing more broadly. And that explanation is not the beginning, it's a later accommodation. The knowing, that comes first. So that piece isn't a departure from the argument, it's an echo. It's the first piece that names the stakes, right? The first piece names it, this one names the source, right? And sometimes that's what lets the argument actually land. So over in the weight of knowing, right, I realize that the outside subscribers may not be subscribed to my other place, Sensual Residue. So I embedded that article from today into the piece from the outside, right? So that's the third piece, the weight of knowing, transmission without explanation. And this one lives somewhere else entirely, right? It wasn't written itself for the outside. It was written for Sensual Residue. It moves in a mythic register, not religious, but mythic, not belief, but orientation. It moves through Enoch and the Watchers, through Freemasonry, through stone, through ritual, through transmission without explanation. It's about knowledge and how that arrives before language. It's about what it costs to carry that knowledge when no one has written the lines yet. And in this piece, the Watchers, right, those old fallen angels, they're not villains. They're threshold figures. They represent what happens when knowing exceeds containment, when something true enters the world before the world knows how to carry it. The Watcher that is associated with writing, that one stays closer to me for a reason, right? Because writing is a gift. It's also compression, and something I feel when I'm writing, right? Once something is written, it no longer requires presence. Meaning becomes portable, extractable, usually by strangers, subscribers, right? That's powerful, but it's dangerous. So this piece, this third piece, is about that danger and about survival, about how some minds, especially Gestalt minds, learn to carry whole knowledge before they are permitted to explain it. So GLP didn't start in a journal. It didn't start with Peters or Present or Blanc or me. It started in lives. It started way, way back, before time was time. So these three pieces, they work together, right? And here's how to understand that. Who owns GLP names the fight. It's about power. It's about authority. It's about capture. Beyond the question names the source. It's about lived coherence and speaking from inside knowing. The weight of knowing honours the origin, about sequence, body first, language later. One is institutional, one is relational, and one is mythic. But they're all doing the same kind of refusal. Refusing premature translation. Refusing to let systems claim ownership over ways of knowing they did not create. When Marge says Gestalt processors must be allowed to speak, this is what it looks like. This is what it looks like. Across registers, across time, without apology. So you don't have to read all three pieces at once. You can enter whenever something resonates. Recognition, I think, is enough. Language will catch up when it's ready. So thanks for sitting with me on this, and I'll see you in the comments or in the next piece. Good day.